Welcome to another Tech Help Quick Queries video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today we're going to talk about why Microsoft Access multi-user databases are so prone to corruption. Not like, taking bribes corruption, like you see on Capitol Hill, that kind of stuff. But we're talking about corrupted database files, like things don't work, that kind of stuff. All right, you go to access your database and it's like, can't get in. Nope. Not today. Then you got to compact and repair, do all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's a pain, I know. So we're going to talk about that first, and then we're going to get to your YouTube comments and a lot more, so let's get to it. Today's first question comes from Alan in London, England, one of my Platinum members. Alan says, why do some Access databases run for years with no problems, while others corrupt all the time? I've been an Access consultant for almost 10 years, and I've seen small offices with only a few users that corrupt constantly, while larger setups with 10 or more users never have an issue. What really causes Access corruption? Why does it seem so random? And what's the solution? Well, this is one of those things that could have many different reasons. Access corruption usually isn't random and almost always comes from the fact that Access is a file-based system where every workstation on the network is opening and writing directly to that shared ACCDB file on the back end. So that means the quality of the network matters far more than just the number of users, right? Microsoft says you can theoretically have up to 255 users. No way. I would say concurrent users, 20 is probably pushing it. Now, I've set up offices where, they had 30, 40 workstations that had access to the database, but maybe only 10 people at a time were using it, and it ran fine. I've also seen tiny offices where they were trying to run it over Wi-Fi, and that was far more dangerous than the big office with the solid network. So the best solution is to make sure their network is solid first. That goes without saying. Make sure no one's using Wi-Fi, and the best solution is to set up SQL Server for them if they've got a lot of users. SQL Server avoids this problem entirely because only the server ever touches the data files. And it uses a transaction log to keep everything consistent. So even if a client drops out, even if they've got someone on Wi-Fi, right, their computer that's on Wi-Fi isn't directly touching those files on the server. It's asking the server to give it information. That's why one environment can be bulletproof with SQL Server, and then another's a mess with it, which is just people talking to Access directly. And for those of you who don't know how it works exactly, well, Access is a file-based system. That means your database, the ACCDB file, lives out there on a shared network drive. And every user's copy of Access, the front end, opens that same file directly. So when you add or edit a record, Access goes into the file and changes just that small part. It's like opening a Word document and changing just one paragraph instead of rewriting the whole book. But every file is working with different paragraphs in the same Word document. See how it gets kind of confusing? So this works fine when the file's sitting on your own computer, right? Or a stable wired network. But if there's a hiccup, like a Wi-Fi dropout, someone losing a connection mid-save, a laptop's network card goes to sleep, someone kicks their computer during a write and knocks the network cable out of the back, something like that, right? Then Access might not finish writing that change. And since all users are sharing the same file, one bad write can mess up part of the database and cause corruption. Access doesn't just itself, go corrupt for no reason. It's almost always a networking or a concurrency issue. Now, SQL Server, on the other hand, is a server-based system. So instead of every user opening the data file directly, only the server itself touches the files. So your Access front end or any other app just sends SQL Server a command. And then the server, based on that command, reads or writes the data and sends back the results. The client workstations never touch the actual files on the hard drive. SQL Server also has a transaction log that records every change before it happens, and if the power goes out or a connection drops, or even if 50 users are connected to it, SQL Server can still roll back safely, and that's why corruption is extremely rare. Plus, SQL Server has a lot of other benefits, like it can be much, much faster, right? Because if you're doing, for example, a very big report, your workstation has to get all of the records down from the table before it can find just the ones you need, right? SQL Server is also a lot more secure. It has actual proper security, whereas Access does not. Now, Access is great for quick development on smaller projects where everything stays local. You got 2, 3, 5 people using Access on a stable wired network, you'll probably never have a problem. Like I said, I've installed setups where they had 20, 30 people connected to the database. You know, it depends on the amount of concurrent reading and writing. But I made sure it was a, properly set up network, good network cabling, new switches, all that stuff. And I've had setups like that have run literally for decades without a single corruption issue, more than a basic compact and repair couldn't fix. But as your database grows and more people start using it at the same time, or you want to add remote users, now the risk goes up. You got Joe who wants to work in the break room on the Wi-Fi. You don't want them on your Access database, right? As your concurrency grows into the double digits, 10, 20, 30 users, that's when you really want to start thinking about SQL Server for your backend. Technically, Access can still work, but all those computers are constantly reading and writing to the same shared file, and every new connection increases the chance that something will go wrong and your database will corrupt. And the key issue here really isn't the number of users, but how reliable the network is and how heavy each user's workload is. SQL Server fixes that by changing how the data is handled. Instead of letting every workstation reach directly into the file, right, the ACCDB file, SQL Server stands out in front like a gatekeeper, and each user sends a request to the server, which safely reads and writes the data and returns only what was asked for. If the client drops out, or if there's noise on the network, or like I said, if Joe kicks his computer and accidentally turns it off in the middle of a write, that request might get lost, right? But the server's data remains just fine. One analogy that I like to use is a salad bar, right? Think of it like a salad bar. With Access, everybody walks up and grabs the lettuce with their own grubby little hands. Nasty. And I've seen people do this too. It's disgusting. In fact, one time I was at a salad buffet and I saw a kid drop the spoon on the floor, pick it up, lick it off, and stick it back in the salad bar. I was like, that's it. Check, please. I'm out. Now with SQL Server, you get a server who is the only person that touches the actual food on the salad bar, right? He's got nice clean hands. He's got tongs. You tell him what you want. He gives you back your tomatoes, your carrots, your ranch dressing, right? Nobody touches the salad bar except for him. That's SQL Server. And he keeps things running smoothly. And there's no kids spitting in the... Ugh, it's gross. Now, if you want to learn more about SQL Server, I do have one seminar available right now. It's called my Access SQL Server Online. This one is for having an online version of SQL Server that's hosted by a web provider. And this is good if you've got people in different locations. Like you have different, regional offices or people that want to work from home. You put your data in SQL Server and everybody can connect with their Access database no matter where they are. This one's mostly dedicated to working with SQL Server online. I am also working on another SQL Server course that is going to deal with working with SQL Server on premises. In other words, setting it up yourself in your office so you can work with your data right there in your own SQL Server. Nothing goes online. You get all the benefits of SQL Server, the security, the extra stability, all that stuff. If you're interested, get on my mailing list. There's a link. I'll put a link down below. And as soon as it's released, I'll be sending out everybody an email. And of course, I'll be putting some videos here on my YouTube channel and on my website. And of course, if SQL Server is not going to happen anytime soon, walk through my troubleshooter and check the usual suspects. Make sure you got good backups. Make sure you compact and repair both the front end and the back end on a regular schedule. Weekly is fine for most users, but it depends on how heavily you use the system. If you're reading and writing large chunks of data, you might need more compacting. Keep images and attachments out of the database. Store those on a disk and link to them instead. Get everyone off of Wi-Fi. Replace any flaky switches. Make sure the backend is on a stable wired network share. If you do have problems, run down the list. I tried to put these in the order of things that are, that are more likely to come up. Make sure you don't have antivirus scanning your Access database folder. Make sure people aren't leaving the database open all night long. that kind of stuff. Try the simple things. Reboot the computer if it's not working. You know, you've compacted and repaired it. Did you reboot the PC? You never know. It could be a memory leak. All kinds of stuff. Run down this list. There's lots and lots of stuff in here. And if you have problems, you can post them in my forums. So there you go, Alan. I hope that answers your question. And Access is remarkably stable. Like I said, I've had clients that have, had 10, 15 people using one of my Access databases for decades without problems. I still have, they're still out there. They still contact me once in a while, and I try to help them out since they were, clients for years, but I don't do consulting anymore. But all these people that think that Access is just like randomly just blows up, it doesn't. There's usually some other, underlying reason why your Access database blew up. Access has been around for a very, very long time. It's very, very stable. All right, let's head over to the YouTubes and see what we got today. First up, we got Rivera's Clean Cut Lawn Care. Cool. I always hate that when there's no capitals in it. It's hard. You got to take a minute to decipher what it is. I love my camel casing or Pascal casing or whatever casing you want to call it. Anyway, Rivera says, how do you feel about other Access developers making videos on YouTube? I love it. Short answer, I love it. As far as I'm concerned, the more people there are out there that are excited about Access, the better. I don't look at anyone like that as competition. There's plenty of views, plenty of viewers, plenty of topics, plenty of love to go around. And if someone shows something in a different way than I do, that's great. I love learning from them too. Now, full disclosure, I love YouTube for like science stuff. I have a hard time watching other like computer type tutorials. Like I love Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I watch Cosmo. It's another space channel. But when it comes to learning computer topics, I'm more of a book guy. I like a good book or an article. I like to sit down, read, experiment, take notes. Even though I produce videos, that's not how I personally learn best. I'm more of a reader. Now, for computer-based tutorial videos in general, I usually see two extremes. On the one hand, you get people with great material, but they're dry or you can't understand them, or, you start looking for excuses to go fold laundry instead of watch their video. Lots of those. And on the other hand, you got some creators who are fun and energetic, but they don't really know what they're talking about. So my goal is to try to land right in the middle. I want to be entertaining enough that you don't zone out and that you actually want to like listen to me, but solid enough with my stuff that you can trust what you're learning. So, I'm not the smartest guy out there, but I try to at least convey what I know in a way that makes it easy for people to understand. So that's what I like to do. So yes, I fully support anyone out there making Access content or any other kind of content. I watch, some Excel videos. Mr. Excel is fantastic. A lot of other creators that I like to watch. The more voices, the better. And if they teach something in a different way that clicks for you, that's awesome. Not everybody likes my style, and I get it. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Whatever helps you learn is what I say is good, right? And of course, I'm always open to suggestions. If you have ideas for things that I could do to make my videos better, post them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Next up, we've got John, who is commenting on the video I did last week, talking about the Windows features that might make your Access database lag. And he says, interesting video on the side that mentions the probable issues, but without solutions. Well, thanks for the feedback, but the video was meant to point people towards specific Windows features that can cause the slowdown and explain what to disable or check. Op locks, SMB mismatch, offline files, indexing, antivirus scans, network power saving, using Wi-Fi. I gave a list of things to check. Each one is a solution, just not a full step-by-step walkthrough, because that would make the video 2 hours long. So if you'd like a deeper how-to on any of them, then tell me which one, and maybe I'll make a dedicated video for it. This is supposed to be quick queries. So hopefully I'm giving you a list of things that you can check, use the Google machine and see if, you can find instructions on how to do it there. Right? I can't cover every possible solution, so I can just get you started. And that's what I try to do with these quick queries videos. Next up, it's funny because some of the videos I never thought would have such long tails on them are the ones that I keep getting comments on. This video actually gets a lot of views. This one that I did for Excel with, just displaying the lottery numbers. And I wanted to make this public record that T. Hotboy said that thanks for the lesson. Once I hit it big, I'm going to look you up and make this a course. Keep the money circulating. I'm taking that to mean you're gonna hook me up once you do hit the lottery. So I'll take you up on that. Thank you, or at least buy my course. Next up, how do you pronounce that? Does FileMaker have all the problems like Access? I have to admit, I am not a FileMaker expert. I've used it briefly, probably 10, 15 years ago. So I don't know a lot about FileMaker, but I do know it's still a file-based system at heart. So a lot of the same rules apply. Anything that slows down or interrupts file access in Windows can cause trouble for either Access or FileMaker. Things like network hiccups, Wi-Fi drops, antivirus scans, the same things I just mentioned, right? Can also affect FileMaker the same way it affects Access. And just like Access, once you put the data behind a real database server, instead of having every workstation touch the files directly, most of those problems go away. So again, I'm not a FileMaker expert, so I really don't know. Maybe someone else who knows FileMaker better than me can chime in. But the basic plumbing is similar enough to Access that the same best practices are going to apply. So right? Mr. Tom says, thank you for all your help, but I only get a syntax error. It should be syntax with an N. Syntax error, missing operator in query expression. Well, syntax error means you typed something in wrong. And since you spelled syntax wrong, I'm guessing maybe you typed something else wrong in the than the query expression. So basically, it's probably a spelling error. But without seeing your work, I can't tell you. Remember how back in high school, you came up with the wrong answer and the teacher's like, you got to show your work? I can't tell what you did, so I have no idea what the problem is. So I'll need more information to help you. Why don't you post it in the forums on my website, and then I'll have a better idea of what you got going on there. I love hearing your success stories. Golf Rep says, thank you for posting this. This was about my missing index video. Quick Query 62. Make sure you index your foreign keys, right? He says, before I change one index from not being indexed to yes, duplicate's okay, I would run a query while using my Access program over a network. It literally took 90 seconds to run the macro. Yeah, I've been in that situation too. Change one index using your method, and when I run the macro now, it takes 2 seconds. I kid you not. Yeah, I believe it. That's why I made the video. That's awesome. I'm glad that works for you. Especially if you're working over a network, because your local PC has to pull down all of those records and then sort through them and stuff if they're not indexed. So that's really slow. So that's why indexing is a good thing. And a follow-up question from Golf Rep. If a table has more than one foreign key in it, do you index each one of the foreign keys in the table? Yeah, I would. It can't hurt, right? If you've got an order table and it's got a foreign key to a vendor table and a customer table and whatever, yeah, index all those if you plan on doing lookups. Just remember, for every index, it's going to slow down updates, right? So if you have a customer as a foreign key, every time you add or edit a customer, it's going to have to update that index as far as that table is concerned. So it speeds up searches and sorts, and it slows down updates. So you got to find a balance for your network and for your database. Next up, Karasny says, external SSDs or hard drives will die faster than DVDs. This is pertaining to my video, Don't Lose Data. In that video, I was talking about CDRs and DVD-Rs, the ones that you read and write yourself at home, not pressed DVDs. All right, CDRs, DVD-Rs, they use organic dye that slowly breaks down from heat, humidity, and simple chemical decay, which is why they often fail long before a hard drive or SSD does. Pressed DVDs are a different animal entirely. But in that video, I was talking specifically about recordable disks, and those definitely rot. Okay? Hard drives and SSDs can fail too, but when they're stored normally and not abused, they generally keep data far longer than dye-based optical media, which is why archivists recommend migrating old CDR and DVD-R backups to modern storage instead of trusting a 20-year-old burned disk to still be readable, as I mentioned in that video. I have a lot of old DVDs that I just recently tried copying, and some of them, sadly, are no longer. So my old copies of Duke Nukem and StarCraft from way back when are gone. So I'll have to try and find them again. Sad. As far as pressed DVDs go, factory-made ones, if they're stored well, cool, dry, and dark, they can last up to 100 years. They're pretty stable because they use a physical aluminum layer not the organic dye that's in recordable disks. Still, they can suffer from layer separation or oxidation, but they last a lot longer than CDRs and DVDRs. Now, physical hard drives usually last between 3 to 7 years before mechanical wear starts to become an issue. However, if a hard drive is stored on a shelf and powered up once or twice a year, it can usually last 10 to 20 years or more. The mechanical parts only wear out when they're spinning. And so archived drives that are handled gently can often beat the life expectancy of DVDRs. Of course, make sure you keep your magnets away from them. SSDs, solid state drives, don't wear out mechanically, but their controllers can fail and the flash cells slowly lose charge when left unpowered. So in practice, a quality SSD stored at room temperature can hold data for 5 to 10 years without power, sometimes longer. An SSD that is powered on periodically can run well over 10 years with normal use because modern SSDs have huge write endurance and good error correction. So bottom line, pressed DVDs last the longest. Hard drives next if stored carefully. Solid state drives for, several years. They're not ideal for deep decades-long cold storage, but they're okay. And recordable CDRs and DVDRs are the worst of the bunch because that die breaks down relatively quickly, which is the whole point of the original video. And this is why I recommend multiple backups and migrating your data every 5 to 10 years or so. Copy them to something else. Keep a copy in the cloud. Cloud storage is so cheap nowadays, right? Keep your local copies. And then I upload everything to Wasabi, which is a file storage platform that I use. So I got backup copies of everything up there. And it's cheap. They don't charge you for ingress or egress, only storage. I pay like $7 a month for all of the videos on my website, plus all my personal stuff. It's not expensive. And I've got, 2 terabytes with Google Drive. So, Hephaestus says, the way you're dragging and dropping doesn't work. Well, if you see me doing it in the video, it worked for me. That's all I can really say. If you want help, I need to know more about what's happening. What are you doing? What's not working? What do you see? Right? It doesn't work, doesn't help me help you. So I need more information. But subforms, I think if I know what you're talking about, it's dragging a form off the navigation pane and dropping it into another form as a subform. That definitely works. That hasn't changed in, 10, 15, 20 years? So, I don't know. New member Lisa says, late to the party here, but this is the best $6 a month I ever committed to. I'm glad to hear that. Why is my report only showing the first entry, though? Again, I can't tell without more information. I don't know what you did. I don't know what you got going on. I would love to help you. Why don't you post it on the forums on my website with some screenshots of what you did, and I'm sure the moderators and I can help you out. All right, that's not enough information for me to go on to tell you what you did wrong. Okay? And finally, today, Shadow Dragon. Great video. Richard, do you have a list of events and their firing order? I've done some quick searches, but there doesn't seem to be a one-sheet list. Thanks. Yeah, I do cover this in my Access Advanced Level 1 class. Advanced courses are ones that deal with events and macros, and one of the things that I do cover, where is it? Right here is the form events. Here's the list of form events and when they fire. All right, you got open, load, resize, activate, deactivate, unload, close. And we go over all those different events in the forms. Not all of them. There's some weird ones in there even I never use, but most of them. And, I teach you, what events to work, that do which things that you're going to want to accomplish, right? Like which ones can be canceled and not canceled and stuff like that. So, that's an Access Advanced Level 1. But you're right. I've been thinking about one of these days maybe putting together a cheat sheet that goes over all of the different events, and when they fire and stuff like that, and when to use each one. So that's on my very, very long to-do list. But speaking of to-do lists, this is one more thing I can check off having finished it today. That's going to be your Tech Help Quick Queries video for today, Friday. What's today? Friday, November 14th, 2025. I hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button right now and give me a like. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. And make sure you click that bell icon and select all to receive notifications whenever I post a new video. Do you need help with your Microsoft Access project? Whether you need a tutor, a consultant, or a developer to build something for you, check out my Access Developer Network. It's a directory I put together personally of Access experts who can help with your project. Visit my website to learn more. Any links or other resources that I mentioned in the video can be found in the description text below the video. Just click on that Show More link right there. YouTube's pretty good about hiding that, but it's there. Just look for it. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, tables, all that stuff. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? And if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. That's it. And it's free for members of my YouTube channel at any level. Speaking of memberships, if you're interested in joining my channel, you get all kinds of awesome perks. Silver members get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, and there's hundreds of them by now. They also get one free beginner class each month, and yes, those are from my full courses. Gold members get the previous perks plus access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos. Plus, you get access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions and all kinds of source code that I use. And gold members get one free expert class every month after completing the beginner series. Platinum members get all of the previous perks, plus they get all of my beginner courses, all of them from every subject. And you get one free advanced or developer class every month after finishing the expert series. And you can become a diamond sponsor and have your name listed on the sponsor page on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time.